What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another Tottenham update for you guys. There's a few quotes coming from our players following the weekend's defeat to Wolves. First of all, 쿨루셉스키, and he's been criticising Tottenham's defensive discipline. He was not happy with the performance on the weekend. He's been quoted saying, "There's nothing worse than losing. It's so very tough. We had lots of chances, we can't score them, and then not enough discipline when we lost the ball. They had 2 or 3 counter-attacks where we weren't good enough, and they made us pay. After that, it's difficult to come back again in the game. We were too many guys up front, too open and not running back as hard as we should. They could have scored a couple goals, and that's not good enough. We are not playing good enough, especially in the first half. We're not playing good enough and losing too many balls, so we have to get better. We have 2 weeks to work on that and come back in a better shape. We found a couple of situations against Wolves, so it is there, and we just have to get better and practice in training. We are football players. We want to play a lot, and 2 weeks is a long time, but we have to do the journey. We have to train. We have to get better, so we have to see it as a positive thing." Yeah, I really hope they use these 2 weeks to really get up to speed. You saw Ange after the game against Brighton, and I think that he was doing it for Spurs play, and he was asked, is it good that you have this free week to now work with the players, or would you rather another game? And he's like, well, given that performance, we're going to need the week, he said. And maybe he feels the same way after the Wolves game. But what do you make when he says we didn't have the defensive discipline when we lost the ball, and Wolves had 2 or 3 counter-attacks where we had too many players up front and we weren't tracking back? Is that is he criticising maybe the gung-ho nature of our play? Maybe we need to be a bit more sensible in our defensive display? Or is it a case of the players weren't doing their duties defensively?
I was surprised by his comments, to be fair, because, we're all about attacking, throwing many bodies forward and trying to outnumber them in terms of pinning them in their own half. So, yeah, those comments kind of surprised me, but it is what it is. It's maybe the manager's come out and said that as well. So maybe that's why he's come out and had a need to say it. I know he's come from Parma, Juventus, obviously playing under Conte. So he's come from that school of thought where your defensive, you don't forget your defensive responsibility. But in terms of I call it the counter press, when you lose the ball, the first thing is to stop them from doing those counter attacks. They would have been very well aware of what Wolves' game plan was. And it was down to the players to kind of figure out a way to stop them from pushing up the pitch and stopping those attacks from early. And I think when we lost the ball, the second ball that happened, I feel like we weren't able to stop that. So sometimes when you lose the ball initially, you need your midfield line or your defensive line to kind of win those balls back quickly, and then we're back on the attack. So that wasn't happening. And that's why we conceded so many big chances, I felt, in that game. And that's maybe where 쿨루셉스키 is criticizing the team, saying we need to be better in those areas. So you're looking at players like Sarr, Basuma, even Romero, some of our defenders, because they're the ones that kind of win those ball back high up the pitch, and then they turn that ball over to give it back to those attacking players. Maybe he's talking about the inverted fullbacks, Ben Davies, Udogie, Emerson Royale. Maybe he's criticizing them as well, saying how they were too high up the pitch at times. Because I think sometimes when we do the inverted role, one pushes and one kind of sits back for just in case. But maybe we were switched off when we had the ball and everyone's trying to get forward and no one's thinking about what happens if we lose the ball. Do you know what I mean? So I'm looking at that side of things. But it's an interesting insight to maybe think where everyone thinks Ange Ball's all gun-ho, but maybe there is some method to the madness in terms of what we do when we push forward.
Yeah, that's been a discussion, hasn't it? I think for a few weeks, but it definitely came to a head after the defeat to Wolves. We are a team that's definitely does concede a lot of chances. I don't think that's any secret. And a lot of people have put it down to, Ange is changing the way we're playing, and we just need to get better at adjusting to his tactics. But I feel like with these double inverted fullbacks, coupled with the fact that at the moment we just don't seem good enough at retaining possession in the opposition's third, is leading to a lot of quick transitions in behind and in the wide areas, and is leading to a lot of chances created. But is that a tactical issue, or is it just a kind of practicing Ange's system? Is it just that, you know, we're 8 months into his tenure and maybe we haven't perfected his system yet, or is that always going to be the case with the way we play?
I think it's credit to Wolves, credit to Everton, Brentford at times, credit to them as well. Teams are doing their homework on us, and they're figuring out a way to kind of hurt our team when we do have that, when we have the ball quite a bit. I think also it's a mixture of the actual players we have in terms of what their characteristics are. Now, you look at someone like Emerson Royale, in possession, he may not be able to switch to play, a bit like what Porro is able to do. I think we suffered in that regard because Emerson Royale wants to keep it safe. He passes it short, and at times when we need to kind of unsettle their backline and push them to one side to the other, that's how you're going to open up that, you know, that back four or their actual team in a low block. Equally, Ben Davies, you want players that are going to run into the box, make diagonal runs and make clever runs into the box, but then have the quality to finish off those chances. We are basically playing defenders in midfield that they're actually not bad as actual football players, but in terms of like that technical quality in that final third, they may not possess it. It might not come to them natural. It's a thing where you can't really coach these type of players to do the things that we need in that particular area, because let's face it, as I said, they're defenders by trade. So asking a defender to make a diagonal run, maybe do a false run, go short and go long, you know, lose your marker, that's what's killing us, because you then having two players that one of them needs to be like, all right, if you go, I sit, and if he goes, I sit. Do you know what I mean? That kind of chemistry that needs to happen. And it's the first time Emerson Royal played right back, if I'm not
first time since the opening day of the season, I believe.
Correct. So when you've got that, Ben Davies only played at Crystal Palace, I think. I can't remember any other time he really played in that fullback position. Most of the time we used him as centre backs, and so we're now asking these centre backs to play in midfield. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no coincidence. You'd think that they'll be good at defending higher up the pitch because that's what they do. They defend, right? But I think because we had a lot of the ball and we were 2-1 down, we were trying to force the questions, and where they don't have the answers and they don't have the quality, that's where we were getting found out at times. And I think also they did that on purpose. They tried to like have Neto on that left-hand side. That was done by design. It wasn't done by accident. Knowing that Emerson Royal was going to be on that side, I thought that's where they're going to hurt us. I thought Nori, Gomez, and also Neto, they played like a blinder, especially on making mistakes. On Emerson Royal wanted to take 2 or 3 more touches than he needed to, and they pounced on that. And certain times Emerson's like, oh, it's a foul. No, bro, you did too many touches. You have the picture in your head before. You didn't know what you wanted to do with the ball, and that's the reason why they won possession back and put us on the back foot.
That's always why I appreciate Pedro Porro so much, because as much as he is a fullback, he sometimes he has the vision of a midfielder, and that's why he's so good in that inverted role, because technically he's so strong, but not just technically, he has really great vision, and he can play these really clever press breaking passes, which, you know, Emerson just isn't capable of. And I think especially when you're asking Emerson and Davis to do that inverted fullback role where they're sometimes in that number 10 position and in offensive areas, you're just not going to get the same outcome as when it's some people like Porro and Udogie who really thrive in those attacking situations. So definitely that was a big problem on the weekend. Last bit of news talking about is from Guillermo Vicario, and he's been talking, and he was talking about his move to Spurs. He said, it's undeniable that a club like Tottenham is different from those I've known in the past. Expectations change, many dynamics. However, I think that football changes, but at the same time remains the same, in the sense that the ball is always the same, and you have to try to understand the coach's ideas, his requests, the level of your teammates you have. For me, the level has risen considerably here, and it's nice to be able to compete day after day with very high quality players. And obviously it's no secret, you know, everyone's been a big fan of Vicario ever since he's come to the club. I thought he had another good, strong game on the weekend. There were some question marks in recent weeks about him from set pieces, but it's hard to forget that he's in a new league. He's the first few months in the Premier League. He feels like he's been playing here for so long, but yeah, he's still made a great start to life at Spurs. What I noticed on the weekend was for the goal from the corner, we had 3 players around Vicario, and João Gomez was left free. So do you reckon that's part of getting that balance right between protecting the keeper and getting the marking from set pieces?
Again, I think that was done by purposely. Like, we're so busy focusing on protecting Vicario that we've forgotten there's a man free, and so they probably looked at maybe 1 or 2 tapes and said, "Oh, look, Everton, they're kind of leaving these players like free because they're worried about this whole a man on Vicario." I definitely think that's one to definitely look at. But I like what he said in his quotes in terms of like, players being at a high level. Understanding what the coach wanted. He's got different ideas. It's the same ball, but understanding that's down to details now. And I like the fact that before he wasn't, used to playing out from the back as much as he is now, and he's worked hard on it. And I know a lot of fans have critiqued him quite a bit on his passing and playing out from the back. But I think overall, looking at the season for him coming in, I think he has had good distribution, decision making. At times, if you want to be super hypercritical, you could say like he needs to be a bit more brave at times when playing out from the back. But overall, I think he's actually a competent passer. The little dinks, he's trying to work on that. When we're playing out from the back, trying to switch to play and hit some of our fullbacks or even our wingers when they drop into an inverted role, trying to play out from the back. I think he's trying to look for those passes. But the fact that he's trying to do it, I respect him. Obviously, we know how much he saved us on Saturday. The saves he was pulling off, even the ones that didn't count, like the offside one against Sarabia, when he hits it on the volley first time, and he just has quick enough reflexes to kind of stretch his body and get down quite low and make that save. I thought was world class in my opinion. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. There was a couple saves again he made. I think it was, I can't remember if it was Neto or if it was against Sarabia, had another chance, and he's just able to stretch his body like a cat. Reminded me of Hugo as well in his prime, able to just spread his body across and just keep the ball out the back of the net. And that's what you want your goalkeeper to do at the end of the day. But I do love the fact that he's very vocal. He's almost like a leader at the back. I know Romero's like the vice captain, but just seeing his vocal, like always talking to the players. And I like the way he celebrated the other day with Romero when we got that all-important win, kind of like celebrated it. And other times as well, like when he saves it or his defender does well, he celebrates with them. So those things I really do appreciate. You need many leaders. It's not about just having one captain, because everyone talks about, do Spurs have enough leaders in this team? I think Vicario is definitely one of them. And hearing him with his quotes it's good to have a man that's a Tottenham man, that someone that loves the club as well. Because sometimes you get players that come in and they're just there for, can they do the top 4? Can they win something with this team? He actually sounds like he just loves Tottenham. He just loves being here, and he's just happy to be a part of the project. And he's also got ambition as well, which says a lot about his character.
100%. But look, Ash, really appreciate your time as always on today's Tottenham update. Go and subscribe to the Spurs Kings TV. The link will be in the title of this video if you want to see more of Ash Matic on his YouTube channel. But that is all we've got time for today's Tottenham update. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Yeah.